Next UFC event's going to be January 11th, and that fight night card is headlined by Duran vs. Hebus Part 2 at the UFC Apex in Vegas. On the main card, Chris Curtis is scheduled to face Roman Kopylov in a middleweight contest. Chris Curtis says, couple weeks ago, 2 Russians show up looking to be part of the team. After 2 weeks, they vanish as soon as Roman Kopylov comes to town and are now training together. Scumbag move, Kopylov.
Scumbag.
Curtis spent Christmas Day at Extreme Couture training for the fight with the likes of Sean Strickland, who'll be fighting in February. These guys are hovering just outside of the rankings. Chris Curtis is coming off a split decision loss to Brendan Allen. Roman Kopylov's coming off a split decision win over Cesar Almeida. Kopylov used his ground game to win that one over Almeida. Almeida's also on this card taking on Al Hassan. Some other MMA spy accusations in the past. Cody Garbrandt accused TJ Dillashaw of bringing a spy in when he transitioned to another camp. Daniel Cormier insinuated that Jon Jones had spies in his camp during their rivalry. Adesanya once claimed that Vettori's team tried to gain information about his training methods. And Colby Covington accused Jorge Masvidal of attempting to gather insider information through shared training partners. 5 fastest finishes in the UFC this year. Number 1 was Carlos Ulberg, just 12 seconds to knock out Alonzo Menafield. Tie for second place at 18 seconds. Montel Quick Jackson knocking out Damon Blackshear. Robles de Spain knocking out Josh Parisian. And he finished the year with a 4-second knockout in Karate Combat. Peyton Talbot with a 19-second knockout over Gamori. And Zachary Reese with a 20-second knockout over Julian Marquez. Reese has 4 wins in under a minute. Jailton Almeida training for his fight with Sergey Spivak next month, January 18th, UFC 311. They're right beside each other in the rankings, number 6 and 7 in the heavyweight division. Almeida has the least amount of strikes absorbed per minute in UFC history. Nathaniel Wood says MMA fans ask him, when are you going to fight someone ranked? And then you ask for a ranked opponent and fans say, he's too good, you're going to get slaughtered. Make it make sense. Wood's coming off a win over Daniel Pineda. He wants to fight March 22nd in London. GFL draft on January 24th. Different fighters will get picked up from different teams in different cities. Paulo Costa says, a synagogue of Satan, but adds, I love Israel and its amazing history. At the same time, I hate blasphemy and idolatry to demons. Costa fought twice this year, lost both of them via decision to Strickland and Whitaker. Surprisingly, versus Strickland, it was a split decision loss. It was pretty clear that Strickland won that one, though. Costa started his career 13-0, but is only 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Granted, he is fighting tough guys. He's only fought champions or a former title challenger in Vettori. Next Karate Combat show is going to be January 24th, again in Miami, Florida. Saturday, you have Ice Cage 3 featuring Makwan Amirkhani in Finland. On Sunday, you have Octagon 65 in Prague. On Tuesday, you have Ryzen 49 in Japan. Fusion Excel out of Orlando is bringing 3 fighters to Riyadh February 1st. Lucas Alexander, Terrence McKinney, who takes on Damir Hadzovic, as well as Mike Davis, who takes on Fares Ziem. Jake Hadley thinks Alice Pereira has only fought cans. I'd imagine so, because she's just 19. She just turned 19, and she's only been fighting over a year. But they're not going to put her against top-ranked opponents in the bantamweight division. They're going to have her fight low-level opponents in the bantamweight division to start. Some of them are going to be way older than her. A lot of bantamweights are in their mid-30s. Closest one to age to Pereira would be Luana Santos. Santos is 3-1 in the UFC, fought 2 times this year, beat Maria Agapova in July, fought again a month later as a replacement and lost the decision to Casey O'Neill. Jon Jones is going to demand a lot of money to fight Tom Aspinall because he says he makes a lot of money doing nothing. I'm making really good money doing really silly things. Show up for a party for half an hour for $100,000. Sign a few items for $100,000. I barely leave my house for anything less than $100,000 these days.
Being elected to the Hall of Fame, and now this is what I got. You fucking cracker! You fucking cracker! I fucking hate you. I hate you.
Brian Caraway being very active on Instagram now, but there was a warrant for his arrest after he failed to appear for a pretrial hearing in Benton County Superior Court. As a result, he was added to Washington State's insurance fraud most wanted list. His ex, Misha Tate, ended up with, and still is with, Johnny Munoz. Munoz is no longer with the UFC. He fought once outside of the UFC this year. Misha Tate looked really good in a return to the UFC, winning as an underdog against Julia Avila. While she was an underdog, she dominated the whole fight on the ground en route to a third-round submission victory. However, that was over a year ago now. Brian Caraway hasn't fought since 2019. A month away from the PFL Dubai show, Hughes versus Nurmagomedov. The co-main event was supposed to be Nemkov versus Anderson, but Corey Anderson says Nemkov turned down the fight. Anderson also says, I read the PFL has exceeded Patricio Pitbull's contract. I don't know if it's true or not, but I know for a fact they have not fulfilled my 6-fight, 2-year contract, which was signed in October of 2022, which turned into 3 years after winning the belt. I still have 3 fights left on Davis. At the next UFC pay-per-view, the two champions are putting their belts on the line, but also their longest active win streaks in the UFC. Makhachev has the longest active win streak in the UFC with 14 wins in a row, and Dvalishvili has the second longest active win streak in the UFC with 11 wins in a row. 10 of those were in the bantamweight division, so that's a divisional record. Then you got Movsar Evloev in third place with 9 victories, then Khamzat Chimaev with 8, and Ilia Topuria with 8. Movsar and Khamzat are the only 2 non-champions on this list. Khamzat wanted a chance to become a champion in February, but the title shot went to Strickland. Maybe Khamzat can be the backup fighter. Movsar wants to fight in January or February. So far, no takers. Jalton Luderbach fighting at RFA on February 15th. On this day 16 years ago, actually Christmas Day 2008, former UFC heavyweight Justin Eilers, who was 30 years old at the time, was tragically shot during an apparent domestic dispute with his stepfather, 48-year-old James Robert Malik, at the home he shared with Malik and his mother in Nampa, Idaho. Eilers succumbed to a single gunshot wound to the chest. Malik, a former correction officer, was arrested and initially charged with second-degree murder, but ultimately convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 15 years in prison. So if he did the full time, he'd be out last year. Eilers left behind a son who was present in the home that night. Heartbreaking to see some of the comments he left on the final interview that Justin Eilers did. To this day, I still love watching this video to hear the sound of my dad's voice. Been 11 years and I still miss him like he was taken yesterday. Still don't believe he's gone. Sometimes this Christmas it'll be 11 years and now it has been 16.